Hello Covai Post viewers, we have a very interesting episode on continuation on the new education policy which is announced at a national level by the Government of India, which we call it as NEP 2020. We have with us a very special guest, Dr. Karunakaran sir, who is the Chief Executive Officer with 3 decades of industry education experience person, who is currently heading as a Chief Executive Officer for the Hindusthan Educational Institutions, Coimbatore. The uniqueness is that they have a school to college, higher education, both in the arts and science, engineering and education, architecture. So it's more all direction studies are there with this particular group. Dr. Karunakaran sir, we welcome you and we are very thankful for your time and talking about on the National Education Policy 2020, sir.
Vanakkam. As an academic administrator, I was really waiting for this new education policy to be launched in our country. Major reform is happening after about 36 years in our country, and Hindusthan Educational Institutions welcomes this new education policy as a whole, and we are looking forward to go along with the new policy of the government. There are many welcome moves. I can say that all the moves are welcoming one. As an educationist, I look in that way. Especially into the higher education sector, there are many reforms are expected, and it is going to improve the gross enrollment ratio up to 50%. That is what the move by the government, maybe in another about 10 years' time, so that every citizen of this country will have the opportunity to go for higher education. So that is the prime goal of this new education policy, and really this is intent to give away creative problem solving, all those skills for the student community as a whole. So that's why I personally, on behalf of Hindusthan Institutions, welcome this new education policy.
Thank you, sir. When you touched upon the particular aspect of the higher education and college with respect, there is a small confusion on the multiple entry and multiple exit which is newly brought into this policy. I want you to clarify how does it help to the student and to the institution and by and large to the community?
It's a major move in India. We have not experienced so far this kind of system in our Indian system, education system especially. After this 5+3+3+4 system from the schooling, when a student enters into colleges, higher education, there are 3 major type of institutions are going to be there as per the policy. One is completely research focused university. The second one is called a teaching type university, and third one is multidisciplinary, self-regulated, autonomous institution. Means there will not be a college exclusively for arts and science. There will not be a college exclusively for engineering technology. So hereafter, every college will provide
all programs.
That's the intention of this policy. The policy says that a student after the school education can enter into higher education. The system is going to allow to move out after the first year of education in the college. Means the institution is supposed to give away certificate for the student. The student with the certificate can enter into any job. Suppose if the student wants to come back to any of the institution for further studies from second year onwards, there is a flexibility to join at any point of time.
So that is what we call it multiple entry.
Multiple entry, multiple exit. Even a student after second year wants to go out with a diploma program, the institution is supposed to send out the student and the institution should allow the students to enter for the third year also, those who have completed second year. And one interesting parameter here is a student who study in one institution can have the privilege of moving to other institution through this credit transfer policy.
Okay.
So government is creating a system called credit academic depository. With that, a student can move from one institution to another institution whenever they feel. That's the most important component in the policy.
Since you mentioned about that the multiple exit and multiple entry, which is good to the student aspect, I hope the corporate will get lot of manpower whenever they want it. Today what happened, the corporate has to wait for 3 years degree to be completed or 4 years degree to be completed. Now if I need a specific skill, I can get it. Do you think this will have an impact on to the corporate in terms of manpower availability?
Mr. Venkatesh, no doubt it will benefit corporate in a major way, because now corporates are looking for specific skills from the students, that too from the domain knowledge side, and they are not expecting that a student should know everything. A student is expected to understand
that domain
knowledge with, of course, the competency level and other skills. If a student is capable of entering after the first year to an industry with that specific knowledge required for the industry, no doubt it is a welcoming move from the industry side, and no doubt industry is going to get benefited in a large way. But when we come to the question of
his promotion, additional responsibility.
You are right. Probably those students should come back again for institutions. This is one way, either to come back to college, or government is encouraging through online programs, you know that.
Okay.
So there are going to
they can continue the online.
They can continue in online also to upgrade their domain knowledge.
From the same institution, or could be anything? It could be
anything, right? There may be separate universities for
online alone,
or the same institution may be allowed to offer in online. We are really waiting
so that he continues his job, at the same time he improves his skills.
You are right.
That's a good for the corporate as well as for the candidate.
Yes.
And now that you talked about various skills and multidisciplinary, will the impact onto the teacher's skill?
No doubt, because when the expected outcome of this policy says that every student is supposed to be a creative student, problem solver, kind of updated skills required for the industry, no doubt the teacher skills should go up. There are many components created for the teacher development.
Will they be stressed? That's the...
No, teachers has to go along with the change, right? No other option, right? Whether it is multiple skills in terms of teaching methodology, beyond this pedagogy, there are concepts like andragogy and heatagogy. So being a facilitator, being a mentor for mentoring the education process by a student, no doubt teacher level has to improve, and there are programs designed in which already I think the government started programs like RPIT and all. I think teacher level should go up. Until the teacher level goes up, no other option, we cannot fulfill the dream of the new policy.
Because you also have a teacher training institute.
Yeah, we do have
I thought,
institute here.
It makes sense for the teachers to understand what is the new paradigm.
Not just for this new policy, we are developing our teachers. See, in the recent 2.5 months time during this COVID process, we are really making our teachers to be a creative digital teacher. That's the order
of the day. And the multidisciplinary was a new word which has been used in the new education policy. Can you just throw a light on the word multidisciplinary? Yeah. How does it impact to the student, institution, or to the
right now in
teacher?
Right now, in the Indian system that we have a separate college for arts and science. Engineering education is completely different.
Separate.
Even the regulating bodies are different. Okay. So now the regulating bodies are merged. UGC and the AICT are going to be merged, and we will be having a single regulatory authority in India for all the higher education. Under that case, an institution is going to be called as an institution, that if that institution is capable of starting courses on their own interest, for example, electronics. Electronics can be offered in 3-year mode as a BSc electronics program, as well as a 4-year
program.
That we call it as engineering.
Engineering.
See, if you see the core syllabus or the curriculum, one and same, advanced application level, it is there in the engineering in the 4th year. So if we merge these two together,
that is what we call it as a multidisciplinary, and then
first year if a student is moving out,
he gets a certificate,
second year diploma, third year degree, fourth year
honors, I think.
Maybe honors degree or engineering degree.
Engineering. Okay, that's how the nomenclature.
Yeah.
So tomorrow I might have a engineering in chemistry also. I mean,
yes, of course.
We don't know.
Chemistry plus engineering can be called chemical engineering. Now itself that's this.
Okay, that's a chemical. Okay, doctor, before completing, I have one last question on will the transfer of credits, when you mentioned about the depository which is we are planning,
yes,
will they allow the foreign students to come to India and they continue the education? Is it possible?
Of course. Now there are doors opening for the international students to come to India. That's because one way that is going to make better revenue to our soil. So that's one of the focus. I think this policy is really encouraging foreign students to come and study in India. And also there are doors getting opened for foreign universities to come and operate along with the existing institutions in India.
And I think the Indian university also allowed to go abroad, I think.
Because this move is there for a long time in India, right? I think there were committees constituted earlier and they were working. I think this policy is...
Now the country has Nalanda, Dakshinta on those days.
You are right.
I think we want a lot of foreign students to come to India.
Yeah, you are right. And this policy is really encouraging to retain many of our Indian students. Really, they spend a lot in abroad for their higher education.
To be stay.
I think this policy is going to allow those students to stay back in India itself, so that the foreign currency, what we lose, will be retained in India.
Thanks a lot, Dr. Karunakaran sir. In fact, we touched on the multi-entry and multi-exit teachers' perspective to the new policy and vocational education in the school level, and we touched on the classification of institutions and multidisciplinary and transfer of credits. A lot of technical points you clarified. Thank you for your time. Thanks a lot. Thank you, sir.